Now I'm going to talk about cars for a little bit. Cars were pretty important in our family. Just to give you a bit of history, back in the early days of cars, back in the 90s, the two major car companies were Ford and Chevrolet. And the Chevrolet had developed a V8 engine. And at that time, Ford only had a six-cylinder. But Henry Ford was pretty smart. He realized that they were building highways with smooth surfaces and that cars were going to be going faster. And so he wanted the V8 engine to be able to go faster. And Chevrolet got into financial trouble. And so they were about to go bankrupt. So Henry Ford went to the owner of Chevrolet and he said, "Hey, I'll bail you out financially if you will give me the blueprints for the V8 engines." And so Chevrolet said, okay. They didn't have much choice but to do that. So Chevrolet sold the, what do you call it? The, yeah, the rights to build V8 engines to Ford. Well, Henry Ford had a stipulation there that Chevrolet could not put a V8 engine in their cars for 20. So this was in 1935, I believe. Well, actually before that, 33. So Henry Ford started building V8 engines and putting them in his cars in 1933. And so from then on, he had V8s and Chevrolets just had six cylinders. But for the next 20 years, the Chevrolet company was designing better V8 engines. They were developing a good engine. So in 1955, they were able to start putting V8s back in their cars. And in 1955, they had developed a really good engine, 283 cubic inch engine that was pretty powerful and kind of had the edge over the Fords. So anyway, from then on, Chevrolet pretty much had the advantage, at least during the era when hot rods were popular in the 1960s and 70s. So my Uncle Bill, when he graduated from high school and he was working for McDonnell Douglas, he bought a 1957 Chevrolet that had a 283 engine in it. And it was pretty fast for that day. And Uncle Bill liked to drive fast and he liked to race. So he was the first member of our family to actually race cars. Now, he didn't go to the track and race at the drag strips or whatever. He just raced out on the road. But he was pretty successful in beating those people that he raced against. So that kind of got the hot rod fever going in our family. Later on, when Charles Harris was grown and he had a good job, he bought a 1962 Chevrolet Impala that had a 327 cubic inch engine in it with 300 horsepower. And his car was pretty fast. And so Charles would race people. And he was pretty successful at winning and racing that 62 Chevrolet. And so once again, we had the hot rod bug in our family. So then when I graduated from high school and I had a job working over in Decatur at the Prestolite Company, I wanted to buy me a fast car. And so I went to the Chevrolet dealership there in Decatur and I bought a 1967 Chevelle that had a 396 cubic inch engine, but it had 425 horsepower. It was fast, and it had a positive traction rear end, which means that both the tires were pulling at the same time. It also had a 4-speed manual transmission, which I learned to shift pretty quick. And so I was in the racing field. But at that time, what do they call them? Street rods were pretty popular. And so they started having these racetracks pop up all over the place, drag strips, they call. And so on a drag strip, you pull up to the starting line. There's a thing called a Christmas tree, which is a thing with lights on it. And you're sitting side by side with another car. The lights start coming down, there are yellow lights at the top, yellow, 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 green. When the green light comes on, you take off and you're racing against each other and you race for a quarter of a mile. And so I got pretty good at that. My car would go a quarter of a mile in 13 seconds. So that was pretty good. So at one time, I had probably the fastest car in Limestone County, and a lot of people knew about my car. It was pretty famous, and so I enjoyed that. Later on, when the warranty ran out on that 396 engine, I went to a bigger engine, 427 cubic inch, and it was built by a race car company, and it had 510 horsepower. And I put that engine in my car. And I was wanting to race all the people around Limestone County. But after putting that engine in my car, nobody would race me. They were pretty sure that they were going to get blown away. So I wasted all that money putting that big engine in my car. Anyway, I had that for a while, then finally sold it. I went on a mission after that. And then when I got back while I was on my mission, one of the missionaries that was in my district had a Corvette. And so he talked to me about Corvettes. And so when I got back from my mission, I bought a Corvette. But it wasn't a hot rod. It was just a nice car, and it wasn't slow, but it wasn't made for racing. So I had that Corvette for a few years, and then I sold it. And I started getting into farming. So I sold my Corvette and I bought a four-wheel drive pickup truck. And that's what I had when I got married. Then after that, I had that truck for several years. But then Julie, my wife, had a Monte Carlo. And then when we started having kids, we needed something a little bigger than that. So we bought a station wagon. And then after buying a couple of station wagons, my wife bought some minivans, and I bought a couple of Suburbans. And then we started buying Ford Explorers because they were fairly cheap and they were good, dependable automobiles. So I think we owned 4 or 5 Ford Explorers. Racing costs a lot of money, and I had spent a lot of money on my car in the past. So when my kids were growing up, I didn't want them to get into that. So I never talked to them about racing. But then when my boys got to be teenagers, guess what they wanted? They wanted fast cars. So we got Russ a 69 Camaro. We got Michael a 69 Camaro. And we got Logan E182 Camaro. And so we had those for a little while, but then we sold them. And so I was glad that my boys didn't waste a lot of money on cars and get hurt driving fast. So that's the history of cars in our family.